So, you know what? I don't think anything any administration is going to do is going to make the student loan situation any better, because I think most people have a poor understanding of basic economics. So the people who are in charge don't really know basic economics, because the people who pick them to be in charge don't know basic economics. And this is just not a slight on anybody. It's just the way it is. If you weren't taught, you weren't taught. If you don't know where to look, you don't know where to look. But anyways, I didn't learn what I'm about to say till I was like really grown. So excuse me. So anyways, let's just talk about why student colleges are so expensive now. So in a lot of instances, prices go down relative to inflation. We'll see that like TVs, like 65-inch 4K TVs are going down in price, even though inflation is going up. Like you can see this a lot with technology. Like my dad bought a VCR player for $1,500 in the 70s, in the 1970s. Like I forget when it was. It was the late 70s ish. It was after 75. So between 75 and 79, he bought a TV, a VCR. I think he still might have it. And but like many moons later, there's like I could buy a DVD player or a Blu-ray player. I could buy a Blu-ray player for $60, and that's a way better technology. And it was not like that thing was cheap when they first came out either. So we see like video games being far better technology. Like video games were like $50, 50, $60 in the 80s and 90s. And they're still, I mean, they're not way more in price relative to inflation now. And they're a lot better than they were in the 80s and 90s. I'm talking about like Super Mario Brothers and things of this nature. Now, granted, the cost of the console is more, but the video games themselves aren't that much more in a lot of cases. But some cases they are. But anyways, you have that. You have just a lot of times things in general tend to go down in price, except things that aren't government backed. Like I think the government is involved in the housing market. I know it's involved in the medical field, and it's involved in colleges. And these things are shooting up in price relative to inflation really fast, as opposed to other things that tend to be stable or may go down in price if there's a shortage or a spike of inflation. But I mean, they may go up in price if there's a spike of inflation or if there's a shortage. But other than that, they tend to go down in price or be very steady. But you know, colleges consistently go up. So, and the thing about colleges, why are they consistently going up when the technology should be making it cheaper to get an education? It is cheaper to get an education. It is actually cheaper to get an education. It's not cheaper to go to college, but it's cheaper to learn stuff now than it ever was. It's far easier to learn stuff now than it ever was. There's videos and stuff online, as well as books and libraries. So it's easier to have access to information now than it was ever before, especially when I was in school in the late 90s. Now, so I believe the problem is just the government-backed student loans. And I'm going to just give you a very quick example of this so you can understand. So let's just say, for example, there's a society, the most people in our society can muster to pay for something is $10. We'll just say the dollar was worth a lot more and a lot more. But anyways, regardless of most, we can muster up is $10 to buy something. That's it. Now, what's the most something's going to cost? Something's not going to go cost more than $10. I mean, barring like, and we're just taking the whole credit thing out of the situation. Let's just say the most people can muster up to buy something is $10. That's it. So the most something probably going to cost is $10. It's probably going to cost less. In our economy, it's beneficial to have a high quality product as cheap as possible, or just to make something as cheap as possible. In the vast majority of cases, I mean, I think there's some exceptions, but generally speaking, you want to make it as affordable as possible, and as well as make a profit, so you can get it out as most people as possibly can. So it's like the person who can make $1 on 1,000 items can make a lot more than the person who sells one item at $100 of profit. So one guy makes $1,000 and another guy makes $100. Who makes more money? The other guy, you know. So, anyways, but so the society that most people can muster up is $10. I say, for example, something outside of society, maybe aliens, angels, whatever you want to say it is, comes in and says we offer $100, up to $100 to buy this orange thing that y'all selling in your society. So guess what that orange thing could do? That orange thing can spike up in price now because $100 being offered. It doesn't have to have any down. It doesn't have that same downward pressure it had to make things more, that orange thing more affordable. It has now an upward pressure of it can charge more and more of that thing because that more money is being offered. That's just the way it is. So now student colleges can go up in price. So I think the solution is the student loans. Because I like when I was in school in the late 90s, I was paying for my college tuition, not community college, but regular college tuition at Wayne State University for $100 an hour, with making like $6.50 an hour or something like that, working part time. So, and I don't think I was going to school part time then either. I think, or it was full time or close to full time. I can't remember, but yes, I was paying for that with my McDonald's money. Now it took me a while to do it, and gas was like a lot cheaper then, so I could afford it too. But that's what I could pay for my college with that cheap, with $6 an hour. And then I heard Peter Schiff talking about his dad could pay for school with his little summer job because it was just a lot cheaper because the prices haven't went up. Why? Because I mean, the student loans haven't affected it, his tuition prices like they do ours. Like 10 years later, after I was going to school there, like in like early 2010, like within a couple of years of Obama being elected, and this is not about Obama, but this is not about Obama at all. He didn't really do anything for this to happen at all. It's none of his fault, but just giving you a time frame. This is, it was about, the prices were at Wayne State were like was close to 3 to 4 times as much per credit hour as it was when I was there. Now, I just think that the solution is to scale back how much money we offer to schools. That's what I honestly believe. And we need to scale this back somewhat. We can't scale it back abruptly because that'll cause a lot of problems, but we can scale it back slowly. And we know a lot of stuff that goes on in college is nonsense. You don't have to be there. A lot of stuff they offer is nonsense. The classes you have to take when it comes to a major is nonsense. And even a lot of the majors they offer is nonsense. And a lot of stuff they do with that money is nonsense when they fix up their campus and stuff. A lot of stuff they do is just has nothing to do with education whatsoever. But you're paying for it in student loans. You're paying for an institution that's supposed to teach you how to work in, independent of the government in a market that's fairly free. It's completely subsidized by the government. It's a corporatist institution, which is the thing that both the left and the right don't really like, a corporatist institution. Now, most of the left and the right understand that there's government institutions and there's private institutions, but when you have an institution that is being funded at the government at the expense of other things, then people normally have a problem with it. And I'm not even saying that there should. I do believe that some government funding. I do believe some government funding can go to these colleges, but anything above and beyond what the government needs to fund needs to be funded privately. And if it's privately funded, then people are going to be very selective on what, like the private institution is going to be very selective about what they pay for. They might not necessarily require a whole degree. They might just require certain classes. Or they might require a degree, who knows? But they probably still require a degree. But when it comes to banks, banks are probably like, we only gonna give you a certain money to go into certain degrees, because we know we can't get our money back if we don't. And I know, and I've heard, and I don't know this for sure, that the bank, I think you can't file bankruptcy for student loan debt. And there was a politician that's in the office now that made it so that people, well, there's a certain politician which I have to look into. I think, yeah, Joe Biden. I believe he made it. He was one of the ones that made it illegal, not illegal, but where you can't file bankruptcy on student loan debt. Now, that's something to look at. The only reason I'm saying that, as far as attributing it to him, so it can be looked up. And I'm sure he wasn't by himself when he did it. I'm sure there was Republicans involved too. But I'm just saying it just as a frame of reference. So, I think everybody involved in that should be held accountable. Not Republican and Democrat, but it's just, I don't think that I don't think that student loan, I think that if you allow bankruptcy to be had on student loan debt, as well as maybe the scaling back the student loans, then I think we'll see the prices be more reasonable at college, and they won't be on some nonsense. And I think that a lot of things that they teach at the college won't be taught anymore because it's like it can't pay for itself. Yeah, these engineering, some of these places are paying for certain degrees, but these places, their degrees are so they can work there. Some of these hospitals are paying for these students to get degrees, but they want to work at the hospital. Like these other things, like random studies degree, they're not going to pay for themselves, so we can't offer them like we used to. So I just think that's the solution to the student loan problem. I think it's just to scale back the student loans. And to the point they're gone. And let private institutions run it. Just stay out of that. That thing we're messing up. That thing in particular. Anything beyond what you're just paying for, like you pay for like a public school or something, that should just pay for by the private institutions. No scholarships, no grants, no nothing. Because anything above and beyond, just because anything offered, even the grants, government offered grants pushes the prices up. Because the college will be like, oh, we can just charge more now because there's more money available. Any grant, any loan, anything at all. If there's a scholarship that should be had, it should be had on a private level or by the college themselves. That's just one I honestly, that'll make the prices more reasonable, and no politicians is going to do it because it's unpopular. Because it's not only unpopular, and it's unpopular because people just don't understand basic economics. Now, most people, left and right, when I explain this to them privately, they understand and they're just on board. Most people do. I haven't had a single person that was just like, wow, I haven't had a single person had a problem with this explanation, left or right. I just haven't. Now, maybe me explaining it on YouTube might have some people who have a problem with it, but no people, in my personal life, when I explain this to people don't have a problem with it. But, that's just something I think the left and the right can agree on if it was just made plain to people and people get basic understanding. The only people who really don't have a problem with it probably is the people who work in these colleges because they know it'll cut their funding. That's who I think it is. But, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm just saying if it's anybody who has a problem. I'm not saying they will definitely have a problem. I'm just saying if there's anybody who has a problem, it's people who make money off of this, whoever those may be. So, thanks for your time. Thanks for watching, and have a good day. Peace.